Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 10. As always, in these team selection videos, I'm going to go through a couple of things before I get to my plans for the current game week. And first and foremost, I'm going to go through my GW9 score, what happened this past game week with my team. I'm also going to go through the free hit draft that I made for Game Week 9, and I'm also going to make another free hit draft for Game Week 10 before we get into my plans for Game Week 10 myself. So first and foremost, Game Week 9, another decent-ish game week, but again, a red arrow, small red arrow down to around 900k. Not too happy about my current trajectory in FPL. I think I've been like sort of just middle of the road, doing decently, but nothing too exciting. So yeah, looking to make some changes now, which we'll get to eventually in this video. But 59 points in total, not the worst. Small red arrow, like I mentioned. My transfers actually worked out. Havertz to Cunha. Cunha got 9 points rather than the 2 points that Havertz got. And then I also got Palmer in for Saka. Saka surprisingly scored against Liverpool, so he got 9 points. So I only gained 1 point from that, but I'm really happy that I have Palmer in my squad, at least. And that was a transfer that I had planned many weeks in advance. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I really enjoy having Palmer in the team, and he's going to be pretty pivotal to me, especially for the next 10 game weeks. So I'm putting a lot of faith in him and Chelsea overall. I have Sanchez in goal, I have Palmer, and I'm also potentially looking to bring in Nicholas Jackson at some point as well. So yeah, Chelsea, kind of backing them more than I want to, because I don't really want them to do too well personally in football. But FPL-wise, I think they have what it takes to be a really, really good team this season in general. So yeah, Palmer is on board. He's really good. Cunha on board as well. Really happy with that. I think Cunha is the best forward in the game currently. So really happy to have him and really happy to see him score and have a really nice performance in general this past game week against Brighton, even though he left it really late to score. And that was sort of like a running theme for Game Week 9 for me. Late goals saving me. You can see Mbuemo there at 15 points as well. He scored a really late goal, really lucky goal. It was a cross that just went straight into the box or straight into the goal, pretty much. And that saved me because he got bonus points from that, and he got the goal points as well, obviously. And Cunha as well had 0 bonus points, had 0 returns, and then he scored really late in the game against Brighton. Managed to get 9 points in total, which was really nice to see. So yeah, those guys were the best players this game week for me, basically. Also Palmer with 10 points. Finally got a clean sheet from Lewis with 6 points as well. And then also Haaland, who scored a goal and got 12 points as my captain. But Haaland could have had a lot more, as we saw from that game. But personally, doesn't really bother me that much. A lot of people use their triple captaincy chip on him, and I haven't used that yet either. So in that regard, I'm actually looking okay when it comes to my overall score as well, because I can get a lot of points from triple captain at some point this season. But yeah, 12 points from Haaland, and that sort of spells the end for him potentially, or as you'll know from the title already, it does spell the end for him in my team. But anyways, that was my team for Game Week 9. Not too bad, not too good. Also should note that Fabianski finally started playing, was the starting goalkeeper for West Ham against Man United, and if I'd just started him rather than starting Sanchez, who had a tough game, then I would have had 2 more points as well. But yeah, Fabianski didn't even keep a clean sheet. So, but anyways, that's also going to be helpful for me in the future. That does mean that I don't have to start Sanchez every single week, because sometimes Fabianski will have a better fixture. So that's another plus for me and my squad, I guess. But also the bench is looking kind of weak with Dibbling and Greaves especially. Neither of those two guys seem like good players. Also, Mikolenko and Everton have decent fixtures still, but there's not too long until they have really, really tough fixtures as well. So you should keep that in mind. But anyways, that was my score for Game Week 9, down to about 900k. Not too happy about that, but I think we'll improve pretty soon when it comes to the rank. But yeah, that was my score for Game Week 9 with 59 points. Let's see how my free hit draft for Game Week 9 did comparatively. And this week was actually a pretty good week for my free hit drafts. It's pretty tough to make free hits, actually. Like, it's more tough than you'd expect to have unlimited transfers every single week. But 75 points with this team in general. I had Guardiola with 9 points rather than the 6 points from Lewis. I had Cels with an assist in goal with 5 points rather than the 1 point that I got from Sanchez in my actual team. Also had Welbeck rather than having Watkins up front, and Welbeck scored. I got 7 points. So all in all, with a couple extra points there as well, with Foden with 3 points, Garnacho with 2. Kind of disappointed with those two players. I thought they would be getting more points, but all in all, 75 points for the game week rank of around 500k, which is really nice for a free draft, pretty much. Also on the bench, Jorginho with 5 points and Digne with 7 points. Could have had even more points, especially if I had started Digne over someone like Pinnock, for example. Probably should have done that, considering Brentford just have been pretty poor defensively in general and conceded 3 goals against Ipswich. But yeah, all in all, pretty good team. pretty similar to my own team, but in some ways I made it better. Obviously, with the free drafts, you can always improve on your team with the unlimited transfers. So yeah, decent score of 75 points. And since I'm doing the free hit drafts every single week in these team selection videos, I'm going to keep track of my score for the entirety of the season. And so far I have 574 points accumulated across all the drafts, all the free drafts from Game Week 1 through Game Week 9. And that would lead to a rank of around 269k, which is like not the best considering you have unlimited transfers, but at the same time, it's also a decent rank because it's not the easiest thing in the world to pick out a really good free hit draft. So yeah, when it comes to my favorite differentials, Welbeck scored, got 7 points. That's nice. Could have also had chosen Cunha as a potential player for that bracket as well. He got 9 points. Garnacho in midfield wasn't the best, 2 points for him. But yeah, I thought he would be doing better against West Ham, but Man United just struggled and didn't manage to do much. And Garnacho had some decent chances as well. Was like involved decently, but yeah, not too much from Garnacho. And Guardiola with 9 points as well, as we've come to expect from Guardiola the past few weeks. He's been tremendous, got a clean sheet, and got all 3 bonus points as well. On top of that, because he's just a really, really good player in general. So yeah, all in all, decent free hit draft for Game Week 9. I was pretty happy about that, and let's see if we can do the same thing for Game Week 10 as well. When I once again try to make the free drafts that I like, try to select the squad that I think will get the most points in the upcoming game week. And that's the point of this draft, Game Week 10 free drafts. As you can see here, I'll go through the team. Once again, I go with Sells in goal for Nottingham Forest. He's just been tremendous as the best goalkeeper in the game currently, the best valued goalkeeper in the game. West Ham at home is a decent match for keeping clean sheets, but West Ham are also a decent team offensively with a lot of good attacking talent. So yeah, not too many good goalkeeper assets this week, but I've once again gone with Sells and Miguel as like a number 1, number 2 Nottingham Forest option there. If Sells doesn't play for some reason, Miguel comes in to start for him against West Ham. In defense, Trent Alexander-Arnold against Brighton, sort of on his last legs now. Trent, in terms of being a really good FPL asset, I've had a lot of faith in him this whole season, but he hasn't really returned too much on investment. Liverpool's defense has been fantastic, but in terms of attacking returns, which is why you have Trent over someone like Konate, for example, hasn't been the best. But Brighton at home, I think that's a decent fixture, both in terms of clean sheet potential and in terms of attacking potential. So yeah, figured I should go with Trent Alexander-Arnold, seeing as there's not that many good defenders this week either. Guardiola, again, I think he's just like a basic pick now at this point for the free drafts. He's been tremendous the last few game weeks. Bournemouth away, it's not the easiest fixture, but at the same time, Guardiola can both score and potentially keep a clean sheet. Also, should be noted that he's a slight doubt after getting a bit of a knock in midweek, but I think he'll be fine. But if he's not fine, once again, I have decent options on the bench. I have Leif Davis from Ipswich to come on from against Leicester at home. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that position either. Ait-Nouri, who's been fantastic lately, and Wolves, who have decent fixtures now, really good fixtures actually. Crystal Palace at home is one of the best fixtures of the week, and Ait-Nouri has that attacking potential as well. So I really like Ait-Nouri this week. If you have him, I think you're really lucky to have him. I sadly cannot get to him myself. I wish I had him, but yeah, I think he's going to be pretty good this game week. I think Crystal Palace is one of the games he scored in last season, if I'm not mistaken. That might be when I had him and he got like 12 points or something, but I might be mistaken on that. But yeah, I think he's a good asset as sort of like a left winger for Wolves with good fixtures now against Crystal Palace, especially this week. So yeah, I think he's a good asset. In midfield, Salah, I think it's the best captaincy option this week. I have him as a captain against Brighton at home. Brighton have shown that they can be pretty vulnerable defensively. We saw that against Chelsea, especially when Palmer scored 4 goals and a half. I'm not expecting the same from Salah, but I think it's also a pretty decent matchup for Salah in general. And he's just been so consistent, so good lately, that I think he's going to be a really good captaincy choice this week. Palmer is my vice captain playing against Man United away. I don't really think there's that many standout options apart from Salah actually, and that's reflected in the vice captain in Palmer. Man United away, I think it's going to be a tough game to predict considering Man United have a new manager, but it seems like from the match that Man United had in the League Cup against Leicester, they were a lot more free-flowing and attacking. So I think that will bode well for Palmer. I think it's going to be a really good game week for him. Chelsea have shown that they are a better team than Man United so far this season. We know the quality of Palmer. In my opinion, he's the best player in the Premier League right now, and I think he can do a lot of damage against Man United, even though it's at Old Trafford as well. Saka against Newcastle away. Again, not too happy about the fixture. Newcastle Arsenal tends to be like a pretty defensive-minded fixture, especially from Newcastle's side. Arsenal have criticized them in the past, which is kind of rich coming from Arsenal, complaining about a team trying to defend to get points against a better team. But yeah, that's just what happens sometimes. But like I said, not too many good options in attack or in midfield this week, I think, in general. So I think I'm just going to go with Saka, who's been in good form, scored last time around in a tougher fixture against Liverpool. And yeah, I think Saka is a really good player to have in general as well. Also have Bruno Fernandes in that game against Chelsea. I think Man United are going to be a lot more free-flowing now under Van Nistelrooy while they wait for Ruben Amorim to take over as the manager. So I think this could be a pretty high-scoring game in general. So quite like Bruno Fernandes in this game. And in general, I think Bruno Fernandes is someone that you should really take note of, someone that you could potentially try to bring in already this week. Because I think his long-term future, or at least like short-term future with really good fixtures, is going to be really good both under Van Nistelrooy and under Amorim. So yeah, scored twice in the League Cup. That's not something you can expect from him every week, but we know how good Bruno Fernandes has been in the past when he's had a good manager, or like a manager that knows how to play to his strengths, at least like he had under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But yeah, I think he's a decent player to have this week against Chelsea at home, even though it's a tough fixture for Man United. But yeah, I think Bruno Fernandes is a decent FPL asset, or a really good FPL asset currently, actually. Up front, Cunha, who's my favorite forward, like I mentioned. Crystal Palace at home, I think that's a good fixture, even though Crystal Palace have kept some clean sheets lately. They look a bit better day by day now, Crystal Palace, but I still think Cunha and Wolves are the better team in that fixture. And Crystal Palace have some injury issues as well. So I think Cunha will be a pretty decent player to have in that game week. So yeah, quite like Cunha this game week. Also have gone with Vardy against Ipswich. I think just targeting Ipswich in general is a good idea because they just seem to concede a lot of goals, especially to like the star player of the opposing team, and that could be said for Vardy. He's like the main man for Leicester, and I could just see him scoring goals against Ipswich. I think this game is going to be like a 2-2, 3-3 type of game. Seems like the bottom teams are better going forward than defensively, so I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think that's going to bode well for Vardy. And then finally, we have Raúl Jimenez against Brentford at home. Brentford is also another one of these teams that are really bad defensively and really good offensively. So I think it's going to be another high-scoring game, most likely, or at least Fulham have a lot of decent chances to score. It is at Craven Cottage, so I think Fulham will be the better team in this game. I suspect them to win, and they are actually a really good and underrated team. And Raúl Jimenez has been fantastic lately in terms of underlying stats, even though he has played the likes of Aston Villa and Man City. He's gotten a lot of chances. He's been really involved, getting a lot of shots in the box, being really creative. I think Raúl Jimenez is just a fantastic pick currently, so yeah, selected him as well for this free draft against Brentford at home. On the bench, I've already mentioned Carlos McGinn and Leif Davis, however you say his name. Also, we have Rico Lewis as a bench option, and then also Dibbling just to fill out the gaps, basically, because he's super cheap. That's basically why he's in the squad, pretty much. But yeah, that's my Game Week 10 free hit draft. Hopefully, it gives you some pointers if you want to go with some player for like a short-term punt or something like that. Or yeah, you just want to know who I think is the best players to have this game week. Obviously, I don't think free hitting in Game Week 10 is a good option. I saw someone on Twitter who said that he had unfortunately done a -12, and he was wondering whether he should do a free hit just to like remove the -12 point hit. But I think the free hit draft is going to be more useful later down the line. So I think you'd actually keep your team there, even though you did the -12 and you're losing those 12 points. I think I would still keep the free hit draft, or keep the free hit chip basically for the end of the season, when it's going to be more viable and more important to have in a blank game week, for example. But yeah, I like to do these types of exercises, and you never know who's going to use a free hit draft. Someone might free hit this week and are looking for videos that show the best potential team for this game week. So that's why I kind of like doing these for the team section videos. So I hope you enjoy them as well. But yeah, that's it for the free hit Game Week 10 drafts. And I'm also feeling like I'm sort of losing my breath, going a bit faster. So I'm going to try to slow down a little bit, breathe a little bit while I go through my team selection for Game Week 10 as well. I know I speak a little bit fast in these videos, and especially today as well. I feel a bit stressed for some reason, but yeah, let's move on to the team selection for Game Week 10 and my plans for Game Week 10. And it's a pretty big one, actually. So I'm going to go through some of my thoughts when it comes to my transfers and stuff. So let's go into that as well. So yeah, these are my Game Week 10 plans. As you can see, I've already made 2 transfers. I've sold Haaland already. It's confirmed. No way back now. I'm going to be without Haaland for a while. And I sold them to bring in Raúl Jimenez. Instead, I did mention how I like Jimenez, especially for the next few game weeks. I think he has really good fixtures. And I just don't think Haaland is worth it for the price that he is currently, because I don't think I'm going to captain him, or I don't think he's the best captaincy option in most game weeks going forward. This game week, like I said, I think Salah is the best captain, and the only way I can get Salah basically is by selling Haaland, I think. Like it would be really hard to get him otherwise, apart from selling Palmer, which I don't want to do because I think he's the best player to have currently in FPL. So I think my only way of doing it, because I have so much money spent on Trent, Watkins, Gabriel, there's no other way for me to bring in Salah other than selling Haaland. And I think long term as well, like the next 8 or 9 game weeks, I'm probably going to go without Haaland as captain in most of those game weeks, even if I had him. So with that in mind, I don't think he's worth the 15.4, and I'm going to sell him. But it comes with a risk, obviously. When you sell Haaland, you need to nail all your picks pretty much, because Haaland is just like a baseline, really good player to have. We know he's going to perform. He's going to get goals. He is probably going to score between 5 to 10 goals within the next 8 to 9 game weeks, most likely. So you just got to hope that you can fill in the gaps and do better with the money that you get extra in the squad, basically. So with those 2 transfers confirmed, that means that I have 1 free transfer left, I think. Or, yeah, maybe I have 0 actually, but 1 free transfer for next week. But I have 2.7 million in the bank, and that means I have exactly enough money to do Semenyo to Bruno Fernandes next week, which is something that I might actually do. But I also have more just leeway to do whatever I want. Maybe I want to do another decent change. Maybe I want to upgrade to a different midfielder. Who knows what's going to happen next week, but I think I really want Bruno Fernandes, and that's also part of the reason why I selected Raul Jimenez up front as well. I did consider Nicholas Jackson, who I think is a really, really good player to have as well. Now I got to wait until game week 16 most likely to bring in Jackson, and that's when I would sell Watkins because he has good matches in game week 14 and 15. So like long-term wise, I think that's when I'm going to bring in Nicholas Jackson, and that's when you really want him as well, because that's when Chelsea's fixture run is like fantastic. So yeah, for now I think Raul Jimenez is a really good short-term pick for the next 5 game weeks, I think, pretty much. So I really like bringing him in as well, and I also have enough money in the bank to get Bruno Fernandes next week, which is something that I really want to do. Maybe I want to keep Semenyo still instead and save the money, save the transfers, and potentially do other changes, potentially try to look to get someone like Saka, for example, in at some point. Maybe I'll try to get Son in for game week 11, potentially. I would have to do a -4 hit, which is something that I don't want to do this season, but yeah, I got a lot of money in the bank, got a lot of leeway, and also it just opens up all the possibilities when it comes to captaincy for the next 8 to 9 game weeks. I can play the game my way, I can live a little and have a little bit of fun, especially after a couple game weeks now where I've been sort of just like treading water, middle of the path, sort of points tally. I'm doing okay, but I'm hoping to do better, and I'm trying to go on a limb here and selling Haaland. So I'm not one of those content creators, I guess, who says like, oh, I might sell Haaland and then I'm going to keep him. I've actually done it now. No going back. So yeah, that's just me. But I get it. If you're more worried about your rank and worried about getting like a bad rank or something like that, you have, yeah. If you're taking FPL super seriously in terms of like you get really unhappy if it goes badly, then I would say that going without Haaland is a bit risky and it's probably not too fun for you. But if you're a bit more like free, open-minded, and you just want to enjoy like selecting a fun team every week, I think it's good to sell Haaland. And I think obviously I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it would be feasible and it wouldn't be good for me in terms of my rank. But it is a bit of a big risk because Haaland is such a, like, we know what you get, you know what you're getting from Haaland for that 15.4 million. There's a reason why it's that price, because he's so consistent and you can always depend on him basically. But I think I'm going to have more money left to do really good things with my team. Also really want to have Salah. I think he's not that much worse than Haaland as an asset, both like especially value-wise, if you take into account the fact that Haaland is about a bit more expensive. So yeah, I just want to do that, want to have fun with captaincy. And I think it's going to help me in the long run because Haaland doesn't have the best fixtures for the next 8-9 game weeks. And after that, I'm probably going to bring him back in again. But for now, I think I want to go with other people as captain, and I don't think that warrants having Haaland for 15.4 million, basically. So that's my justifications for selling Haaland. I want to bring in Salah. I quite like the cheap attacking players that I can have as well. There's so many good strikers to choose from now that I feel like Haaland isn't really that essential to have as a striker anymore. So yeah, that's Haaland. When it comes to my own team, the rest of the team, basically, a lot of the players, or some of the players I have talked about in the free hit draft for Game Week 10 as well. Also, I did mention the thing that Fabianski is starting now, and that's going to be good for me in FPL because I can actually start Fabianski against Nottingham Forest away rather than playing Sanchez against Man United away. Like I said, I think the Man United-Chelsea game is going to be a really high-scoring game, and I think the West Ham-Nottingham Forest game is going to be a pretty low-scoring game. So I think Fabianski has a better chance of keeping a clean sheet. So that's why I've gone with that fixture instead. With Fabianski, pretty happy to have him, and happy to root for West Ham, obviously, which is my favorite team as well. So hopefully they keep a clean sheet against Nottingham Forest. In defense, Trent, who I mentioned in the Game Week 10 free draft. I think he's a really good pick this week. Lewis against Bournemouth, he was on the bench in the free draft. I think he's still a viable option. He still plays. I think he's not going to be rested. Pep Guardiola said that he just can't rest him because he has so many injuries and has so many problems with his squad. And I think Lewis is pretty nailed in general. So I think he's a good player to have. Then the final spot in defense is the tricky one because Gabriel Magalhaes has been out with a slight injury, but he was apparently close to being part of the squad in the League Cup in midweek. So I think against Newcastle, he could potentially be back and ready to play. But if he's not ready to play, then he's going to play 0 minutes most likely. He's either going to play 90 minutes or at least 60 minutes plus, or he's going to play 0 minutes. So that's why I'm pretty confident in starting him. If he doesn't play, I'll get Mikolenko against Southampton, which is a really good fixture as well. So yeah, not too unhappy with having Gabriel as a main option and then Mikolenko as a backup option because I think that's going to be doing pretty well for me in general. Salah and Palmer, I mentioned in the free Game Week 10 draft as well. Previously, I think those two are the two best players to have this game week. I think they will score the most points, or they probably won't score the most points, but they are the most likely to score a high amount of points, if that makes sense. And Buemo, I didn't actually have in my free draft for Game Week 10. I think Fulham away is a pretty tough fixture in general. I think Fulham are a pretty good team, but I also know that Buemo is a really good player. Brentford are really good attacking-wise. He's on penalties, so he's going to be a good option this week as well. So I'm not going to bench him, but I don't think he's going to be like super good this week. I don't foresee another 15-pointer, for example, but he could get a goal, could get like 10 points potentially. But I don't think it's the best fixture either, but I wouldn't bench him if I had him either. Rodgers against Spurs away. Again, not the best fixture. I have both Rodgers and Watkins in that fixture, but Aston Villa are kind of tough to predict. They could win these types of games. They could lose these types of games. But Aston Villa are just a good team, and I think Rodgers and Watkins will play a lot. Rodgers sort of got his rest last time around. I don't think he's going to be subbed off around the 60th minute mark every single game week. That's what happened last time. He was subbed off after 57 minutes, which was really bad to see. I was hoping to see him play more minutes and get the extra points from playing 60 minutes plus at least. He also wasn't the best in that game. Didn't really create much, didn't really do much offensively. That's also probably part of the reason why he was subbed off. He's usually really, really good. One of the best players in Aston Villa. Has probably been their best player so far this season. So quite like Rodgers, but again, wouldn't be too unhappy benching him if I had a really strong option on the bench, but I have Semenyo against Man City. So yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm going to bench Semenyo in that game for sure. Watkins as well. Pretty hard to predict him, but I think he's just a really good striker who can score against anyone. He's shown that in the past. And Spurs haven't really been the best defensively lately, to say the least. And Van de Ven is also most likely injured for this game. So I think it's a decent game week for Rodgers and Watkins. I think those two players can score against anyone, and I think they are pretty good picks to have this week. So yeah, pretty confident in both those players as well, even though they have, on paper, like one of the worst fixtures out of the players that I have in the squad currently. Cunha and Raul Jimenez I had in the free hit Game Week 10 draft as well. I think they're both really, really, really good players. Really happy to have them both for the short term, especially. Longer term for Cunha as well. He's really good. So really happy about those two players coming in now. Raul Jimenez coming in for Haaland, and obviously Salah in for Dibbling, which is another huge upgrade. Obviously, that means that I have more bench options when I get Fernandes next week, most likely for Semenyo. I'm going to be able to bench players with bad game weeks. For example, Raul Jimenez has a tough fixture in game week 12, I think. That means I can bench him. And not game week 12, game week 13 it would be. So yeah, I'm going to have more depth. I'm going to have more players at my disposal, a deeper team in general. Also have Fabianski playing now, which is really nice in terms of depth as well. So I think my team is going to be really strong going forward. So yeah, pretty happy with the team in general. On the bench, I have Sanchez against Man United away. Would be super typical if this is the game he finally gets a lot of points, because I've been really unhappy with Sanchez, or haven't been the most excited about Sanchez since I brought him in. But like I said, with Palmer and Nicholas Jackson previously in the video, they are going to have really, really good fixtures not too long from now. From game week 16 onwards especially, they're going to have really, really good fixtures. So I don't mind Sanchez long term, and I'm also pretty happy to have Fabianski short term for the next two fixtures, to play him as well, potentially above Sanchez. So So yeah, not too fussed with my goalkeepers. I think they're in pretty good condition currently. Mikolenko I mentioned, Semenyo, not going to play him. Greaves is both injured and Ipswich are terrible defensively. So long-term wise, I think I'm going to try to remove Greaves at some point. Maybe I'll upgrade him to Aitnuri and then at some other point downgrade a different defender down to like a 4.0 defender. I think that's the better way of doing it. I've seen other people like do transfers where you sub out like a Dibbling for someone like Buonanotte, for example. That's FPL Raptor for calling out now. I don't think those like single transfers like that makes that much sense. I think if I'm looking to switch out like a bench option like Greaves, for example, I would rather swap him out to a player that I really want for that game week and then in the later game week downgrade a different defender to get that 4.0 spot rather than like doing Greaves to Van den Berg, for example. I think that's just a bit of a waste of a transfer. I think you should do it in like 2 parts rather than doing it in one single part, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to remove Greaves from the equation at some point as well, because I don't think he's going to be the best asset long term. But he is also just a bench player, probably not the most important thing to change. And again, it's not a pressing issue either. I think I'm going to save my transfers for more important stuff than that. So yeah, going to be interesting to see what happens. Going to be a lot more freedom to do what I want without Haaland. It is a bit of a risk, but I think I'm going to get the better end of the longer end of the stick, I guess. In the end, I think I'm going to be able to gain points from selling Haaland, especially seeing as I have Salah. And also, hopefully, Bruno Fernandes next week, if he's actually turning into a decent FPL asset, which is kind of crazy to say, considering I've been pretty against Bruno Fernandes both last season and this season. I haven't really been too enthused about having Bruno Fernandes in the team. So yeah, but that's pretty much it for the Game Week 10 plans. Still have my triple captaincy chip left. We're going to use that later on in the season, like I mentioned last team section video. I'm probably going to save it for a potential double game week or potentially even Game Week 38, which is a high scoring game week. So yeah, not planning to use any chips anytime soon, pretty much. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with my team in general now that I don't have Haaland anymore. Yeah, that's it for now. Also, another like small thing when it comes to Haaland and my thoughts about that. Previously, like 3 seasons ago, I probably wouldn't have done this move because I would have been too afraid. I would have had that FOMO thing where I would be too scared to go without Haaland. But currently, for me, I'm kind of just enjoying FPL. I'm just playing and hoping for the best. And basically, whenever something positive happens, I'm really happy. When something negative happens, it doesn't really matter that much to me. 2 seasons ago, I had like the worst season I ever had. Pretty much, I ended up like 1 million overall, I think. But last season, as you can see in my rank above me, I was just like dead set to just prove my worth as an FPL manager. And I said last season that if I didn't get into the top 10k, I would quit FPL pretty much. And I managed to get into the top 10k with an 8.8k rank in the end. So yeah, really happy about that. And I think I can do something similar this season. I'm not going to say the same thing this year and that I'm going to quit if I don't get top 10k, because I don't think I'm going to get top 10k. I think I'm going to get probably top 100k is what I'm aiming for. But top 10k is always what I'm like, that's always my main goal. But obviously, the main goal would be to win FPL outright, and I don't think you'll do that with Haaland in your squad for the whole season this season. I think already like the best managers currently in FPL have been the ones that have gone without Haaland, or at least not captain Haaland the last few game weeks. I don't think the person that's going to end up winning FPL had Haaland for the past 4 game weeks. That's just my prediction at least. But yeah, I think with the fixtures that he has now, it just makes sense to sell him, and that's why I've done it pretty much. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you also just take into account your own team. If you have, for example, three free transfers, and you can get Salah and Palmer and keep Haaland, I think that would probably be ideal, or at least close to ideal. So you could look into different ways to do it. Also, if you have like 1 free transfer, I wouldn't do it like a -4 hits to bring in Salah for Haaland, for example. Yeah, it just depends on your team pretty much. And I think my team is in a decent state to do the move. But if you're not feeling it, then yeah, I wouldn't do it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Haaland. Talked a lot about that in this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, like I mentioned before as well. Hope you liked the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see my journey without Haaland for the next few game weeks. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Going to be interesting to see or feel how I feel during the games where Haaland is playing as well, because I've been so used to just having him in my squad the last few seasons that going without him Might not be that fun, but we'll see what happens anyways. But it'll be a nice experiment, and I think it's going to end up getting me to higher places in the FPL rank in the end, after all. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching as always. Bye bye.